Hello, and welcome to the 16th episode of Columbus Local Podcast. Today, we have John Widner. Did I pronounce that correctly, John?
Yes, you did. Awesome.
Say hi, John.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Len.
Absolutely. And, we know John as one of Columbus's guitar players in music. And specifically, John has played in the band Toast, and he's also most recently getting involved in Dirty Red Sunshine.
Yes.
How are those going for you, John?
Both are going great. Toast has got a lot of gigs this year, and they're playing quite a bit. Dirty Red Sunshine's only played 2 shows, and it's just a collaboration, really, of very strong musicians that we're just out to have fun. All of them are obligated to other projects as well. So, Toast is definitely my solid situation.
Absolutely, I gotcha. I got that, and I've always appreciated seeing Toast, and that has been just a joy to see you play. I'm a personal fan of yours. I like a lot of guitar players in town, and I don't like to compare anyone, but I do enjoy John when you're involved in. I'll sit right in front of you and take video all day. Through that whole gig, it's a lot of fun, but and it's inspirational. I can feel every note and every move. It's just an incredible experience to see. So, thanks, man. For the inspiration, firstly.
Well, thank you. That's a tremendous compliment. Thank you.
How did you start, and when did you start playing guitar?
Well, my father is a piano player. Started playing at the age of 3. His mother was also a piano player, my grandmother. And my father wanted to see who had maybe some musical interest. And it was my parents that suggested the guitar at the age of 9. And I took lessons for maybe 6 to 8 months and kind of blew it off. I did okay, but I got frustrated, and I didn't have a whole lot of patience at that young age. And about a few years later, luckily my parents, instead of renting, bought the guitar. They left the guitar in my room, and about 12 years old, I started playing and realizing that the lessons that I was shown when I was 9 were a lot easier to grasp when I was 12. And I started playing those pieces in simple songs and things like that. And my parents were gracious enough to see the interests that I had and what I'd learned. And they bought me my first electric guitar, which was a red Fender Bullet Telecaster with a PV combo for my 13th birthday. So that's when I started playing electric.
And did you just learn on your own, or were you taking lessons, John?
Originally, I just learned on my own, but listening to big technology back then was dual cassette boom boxes. Mm-hmm. But back in those days, there wasn't the internet and the phones, and you had to rewind the tape 20 different times to figure out the part you were trying to play, and you could really only do it by ear. And not telling me, we walked 12 miles through snow both ways. I'm not saying that, but it was harder to learn the music than it is now. Yeah, and I enjoy the technology we have now. I use it now, so I enjoy it.
It's definitely easier today.
Yeah.
I think, having heard that, would you get formal lessons? And who was doing that with you?
I took my first teacher, and I don't know if anyone would know him, but his name was Cliff Latchley. And he was the first guy when I was like 9. When I came back, when I told my parents that, like, well, you still need to take lessons, even if you're excited about it, and even though you've done this, my parents always did push for that. And my second guy was Brad Taylor, who is fairly famous locally, played with bands like the Gods and several different people, and he was a great teacher. He forced me to stand up because he said, if you're going to be, we'd be in these small cubicles, but he's like, are you going to sit on that chair when you're on stage playing? So he would make me stand up and do my lessons standing up. So Brad was a good guy and a great guitar player, and I hope he's doing well. I haven't seen him for years.
That's cool. It's very cool. So you got exposure to some really talented players, obviously. And did you know that this was something that you were going to do?
Well, yeah, I wanted to do so much more that, and I do enjoy what I've accomplished. But yeah, of course, I'd love to be one of the rich and famous people that are on tour and everything's taken care of for them. I never did get that. I got a wonderful experience as a very young man with the Bellows. That was my first real big experience into professional music, although I played with some great players in high school, it's the truth. We're all older now, but the people that are in high school are, just as good as I am now. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, the Bellows are pretty well known. And how did the Bellows happen for you? How did you get engaged with that band in the very beginning for yourself?
Well, that once again, I got to give credit to my father for pushing it. He took the call. That was before cell phone days. So we got a landline call, and it was a friend of mine, Chris Graffinino, who is a brilliant guitarist himself, and his twin brother, Bob, who's a great drummer, pushed my name along, said, no, I'm not available right now, but there's this other guy you should check out. They called my house, and my dad was so excited. I came home. He told me that I got a call, and there was a band looking for guitarists. And I wasn't even sure I was really ready for all that yet, but it seems like a lot of times in my life I've been pushed towards something that maybe I'm supposed to go to that I don't have the thing to do push myself. I get shoved. So, my dad took me out to East Dallas back in the day. I was 17 years old. He got me into the bar because obviously I couldn't get in because I wasn't 21. And brought me in there to watch the band, then went and got the band, and the band came and they met me, and I played. Back in those days, there was the Walkman.
Nice.
And it was a recording of us probably off a boombox in the basement. And I said, well, here's what I sound like when I play with other people. And they said, okay, well, come on out and audition for us. And so I did.
And you got into this band and you just rocked the town, right? If you read about the Bellows, okay, that was kind of a big deal. We're talking about the 80s, right? 1980s?
Yes, the late 80s.
And you're playing where with the Bellows?
Highbeck was a regular gig. It was the first Friday of every month for at least 5 years. Great times. Hats off to Tommy and Wayne of the Highbeck, which I believe are still affiliated. Great memories, great times. We played Chelsea's. We had a lot of opportunities to go out of town. We got to play Sloppy Joe's in Key West once, which was a really big deal for me. I was pretty young, and it was really neat. And unfortunately, it was a little bit out of tourist season, so it was pretty slow there. But very neat to go to that venue and in the history that venue has. It was good times.
And you guys cut at least one album, correct?
Yeah, we did one album. It was more of an EP than an LP. When I joined the band, they already had the Brainchild in progress, and they had everything going for that. Luckily, I was able to be a part of that at a very young age, and it was very positive experience for me. Everyone was really nice to me and backing me up, and I surprised myself a couple of times, I gotta say. So yeah, I can't say enough for the experience and the good times that were given to me from the Bellows, friendships, musically, and everything speaking.
It's awesome to hear. And how long did the Bellows run? You were 17 when you started, so how long?
Yeah, well, they won Rock Wars in '86 at East Dallas.
Nice.
So my class was '87. I was fortunate enough to graduate early, and I did get my diploma. And then I kind of went straight into to playing with these guys. It just seemed like a very lucky situation, and I definitely appreciate them giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, and so how long did you stay with the Bellows?
I would say at least 12 to 15 years after they decided that the album wasn't going to bring them to the level that they wanted to be at, that Bill and the other members of the band, Todd, we got another drummer and decided we were still going to do covers and just play because we enjoy playing. So I guess to answer your question, 12 to 15 years, I guess, I was with the Bellows.
Yeah, and you had the one album. How did that transpire to like your next? What happened next for you? You went 15 years with these guys, and you started playing covers with some of them.
They originally started as a cover band, and then they went to all originals, and they lost a little bit of their following because not everyone was into hearing original music. They wanted to hear the oldies but goodies, twist and shout, and all that kind of stuff. And so they lost a little bit of the following. But we were doing really well as far as the original thing go. We got a lot of recognition, and we were told that we needed to have more material ready if we had, any interest in being considered as a credential, signing band or project. So we did have a second album. On a different note, I think we still plan on completing it at some point, which is kind of neat. All these years later. But the Bellows aren't doing much now. I know that Eddie still plays bowron and percussive instruments with Irish traditional bands. Todd Berry is still playing bass, and Bill Bodges is, I don't know what he's doing. I know he wants to put this together, and I know he'll be more than happy to sing for this project.
That's awesome. Do you stay in touch with everyone? Or is it?
No, I don't, unfortunately. I did get a call from Bill just today. I talked to Todd and go to see him periodically. Eddie, I can't keep up with it. He's lived in Ireland and all over the place, and he's hard to find out where he's at. But no ill feelings towards any of them. Even some of the other members, Michael Dorian, great guy. don't talk to him much anymore. I hope he's doing well. But I got nothing but good memories of that experience in my life. And,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, were you on the road a lot?
In the beginning, when I was very young, when things kind of slowed down, that was when I first moved into like meeting some of the other people in the community. I had a good time playing with a couple of brothers of mine from high school. They were actually brothers, Gary Conway and Steve Conway. Steve played bass and still does to this day. Gary was a great drummer. I'm sure he still is, but I don't think he plays that much anymore. But I got playing with them just because when I was young at that age, I was like, I just want to keep doing this. This is so much fun. I want to keep doing it. So I got together with them, and we used to play at the South Heidelberg at the days, which was a dungeon and stuff, but it was really fun. I think that kind of got me into the mindset that, playing a jam or playing a loose situation with a group of musicians, and okay, we're all on the same page. We basically got the chord structure. But if you want to go out here a little bit or do this, and to do that, I think that really helps you as a player more than anything else, especially learning to, which I think is still the key, and we can talk about later, is being able to connect the emotions you have, pass them through your instrument to the audience that's watching.
Well,
that's when you win. No matter what you're playing.
Are you familiar with the term satori?
No, go ahead.
Satori
Tell
is
me
what
that.
you just described, right? So the state of satori is when you channel your inner feelings to your instrument, which is just what you just described. And I got to tell you, man, when I'm at a gig and you're playing guitar, I try to sit right in front of you and feel exactly what you're describing. And so, personally, and I know I'm not the only one, but there's a lot of people that you're able to, touch, and you do. And I know you have a lot of fans in this town, but, that definitely is a gift.
Thank you.
And it's that's where it's at. It really, if you can tap into that, and I think some people are blessed, like yourself, that have that innate ability to tap into that and express yourself. And because there's stuff you've done that I've witnessed that just, it brings so much joy to so many people, and it's awesome to see.
Well, if I can say something on that same topic, and I've always wanted to tell this story to anybody because it changed me big time, but Bill Bogus, who was the lead singer of the Bellows, said, you got to go out and see this guy play. And so we went to Ruby Tuesdays on Summit back in the day. If anyone's our age, they know what I'm talking about. But Willie Phoenix was playing there with the Flower Machine. And we went there to go see him, and I had never seen him play before. I was probably 19, maybe 20, and there was nowhere to sit. All the tables were taken, and I sat on the floor in front of the stage and watched him. And watching Willie Phoenix play, at that time, you got to remember this was the 80s. This was, Yngwie Malmsteen, Warren Martini, Eddie Van Halen, all these amazing shredding players that play with brilliant speed and precision, and which I love and I adore. I can't do it myself, but they could. But watching Willie play and the amount of emotion that he expressed to the audience, he drove himself into a frenzy during one solo and literally took his guitar off and threw it on the ground. And the band got real quiet. The drums and the bass dropped it way down. And Willie started talking on his mic. And of course his guitar's laying on the floor, so it's feeding back, making all this noise and shit. But he's talking to the crowd like, this is what my girl's telling me. This is what she's speaking to me. This is what's going on. And the crowd's, freaking going crazy. I'm going crazy. Like, this is the coolest thing I ever seen. And then after I witnessed that event, like later I thought, wait a minute. This guy just like sent chills down my spine, throwing his guitar on the floor and letting it feed back because the amp was on. And it was like such an epiphany for me that it's the emotion you can convey to the people that are willing to watch you. And the more you can get that to them and they bring it, and then the greatest thing is when they bring it back to you. Like, okay, I got that. So, you keep doing that. That's great. That's what I think's really cool about music and playing. I think it's very therapeutic. And to express emotion, I think, is the most important thing, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and for you, clearly, you're a feel player. There's various different kinds, obviously, of musicians, and so that expression is definitely felt by many at your shows, and obviously, you get it back, man. You get it back. It's uplifting. That's what it's all about. I
agree. The audience is usually always very happy, and I like to smile. I've liked to smile ever since I was a kid, and I've lost some of my smile along life's journey, but I still got it. I think I can smile, and
you're smiling big now, man.
Yeah, I am.
Thinking about it.
I'm thinking about what we're talking about. It does make me happy. I am so thankful for music and how it has touched my life, and not just from a player's perspective, but from being an audience. Some of the greatest experiences of my life have been watching other musicians that can play as well as they do, and I love to watch that, regardless of what you play: guitar, bass, drums, sax. It doesn't matter. Keyboards. Yeah.
And you're here in Columbus, Ohio, and you're still doing it. You're still doing it.
Yeah.
Is this something you think you'll do to your last day?
I hope so. My father is 87 years old, and he is still playing professionally. At that age, of course, you don't have to move your piano anymore. It better be waiting there for you when you sit down, and he's got that going for him. So, yeah, my old man's something else. Jack Widner is his name, and fabulous player, and a very good man. And he had a lot to do with pushing me into the music situation. And I wish... I don't have any regrets at all, but I do wish that I could have been a full-time musician and nothing else. But I do have to hold down a full-time job, and I don't mind that. I'm a cook, but that would be my big dream, to one day just be a professional musician.
That's awesome. How many guitars do you have, John?
I only own 3 now. I have 2 Paul Reed Smith custom 24s and a handmade acoustic guitar from Czechoslovakia. I think the initials are BSE, but I can't remember the pronunciation of their names. It's 3 luthiers from Czechoslovakia that made a guitar. Somehow I walked into a shop, I saw it, and I picked it up, and
the neck was right.
Yeah, it's a great guitar, but I don't do acoustic that much anymore. I used to do some acoustic work with Chris Stebrel, the Barflies. That was fun. I've got a chance to play with lots of different bands over the years, and I don't mean to not credit anyone for it, but I've had a lot of great opportunities with different musical acts, and it's been a great ride in Columbus, Ohio. A lot of great musicians, a lot of nice people. You'll meet your downers here and there, but you don't even have to talk about them because it isn't really worth it.
You're hanging with some of the best people in this town, man.
Yeah.
Really. And again, I don't like to compare people. I really don't, because it's so individual, in regard to, who we are as individuals. But that expression of, what I call the state of satori. I'm going to send you some articles, John. That's it, because you're an example, I'm sure, of many that come to mind, not only in Columbus but around global music scene that are gifted to really tap into that. But I think the important thing is to keep doing what you love, no matter what it is.
Yes.
And you're fortunate you found that pretty early in your life. And you had some people that, it sounds like, based on what you're saying, saw that in you and encouraged you strongly at times, but kind of guided. You felt you've had a rudder to get you, because when somebody sees you play, they know, you got to go in that direction. You should be playing.
No. Well, thank you very much.
And you do.
I don't know what it is. It is about the emotion, I guess. Obviously, I don't have the dexterity and skill of many of the other great players in town, which I'm not going to name them right now.
Yeah, we can't. I guess you can't compare.
I'm just going to say a couple of them have been on your podcast, and I respect them greatly. But I just think one thing that sets a lot of guitarists apart, and this is just my opinion, so I could be wrong, is bending and vibrato. Your vibrato and your bending, I think, is the truest expression of your emotion that you can have. And that, in my opinion, is really what makes it. One note played with the right vibrato or the right bend or the right tone or the right sustain is worth 20 notes easily. That's what I think.
Screaming from the soul.
I'm not making excuses because I can't play fast or anything.
In your case, man, it's coming from your soul. Bone marrow, just your heart, It's a differentiating factor, but that's good advice to give. What other advice would you give somebody that is a young budding guitar player that might today? And I know music's different today, but there are fans of the types of music that I've seen you be involved in, which is kind of, how would you describe what you're drawn toward?
Well, they definitely need to stick with what music turns them on. They don't have to go listen to 100 hours of jazz or bluegrass or whatever. You follow what music got you inspired to listen to music in the first place. Someone told me, that Thunderstorm's kind of cool. Is that like that?
I bought that. The timing was perfect, John, when we got started. You could make a statement. You hear the rumble of your soul.
But listening to the music that inspires you originally, there's nothing wrong with going that direction. But listen to other stuff later. I would say that. When you're talking about new upcoming people, I know the guy's probably 20 years old by now, but the guy from Russia, Max Ostro, holy smokes, is all I can say. And we're talking about emotion, and I'm looking like I'm recovering from knee surgery when I'm in the middle of a solo. This guy has no expression on his face at all, and he is like, in my opinion, the most brilliant guitarist I've seen in this younger generation. He's from Russia, and he's just mind blowing. And He doesn't even crack a smile. He doesn't even give you a wink. But I tell you what, he plays every note on that fretboard like nobody's business, and with soul, and with technique, and with feeling. And but as far as up and coming guitars, I don't know. That kind of makes me like I don't know what to say other than where I came from. But I mean, he must have grown up listening to Yngwie and said, "Shit, I'm gonna do this. All right, what's next?"
Mm-hmm.
And
check mark, moving on, right?
Yeah, and I was not. I don't have that kind of speed. I just never have. I've tried, really. I have. I mean, I worked really hard on trying to learn some of them. Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden has been one of my favorite songs forever, and I still don't think I've ever actually played it live with a band because, I struggle with the guitar work. I really do. It's that style that I don't know, man. Like Allman Brothers, David Gilmour, Jimi Hendrix, things of that nature. That's like right up my alley. But the really fast, speedy stuff, and I do know how to finger tap. I don't utilize it very often, but to the people that can do it, I have nothing but respect for. I don't bitch about it or say, "Wow, that's just cheating." No, I'd love to see the people that could play like that. I just I've never been able to do it myself or integrate it into my own playing. So, for what that's worth.
Another statement from John Widner. Some thunder.
Yeah, sometimes I have a tendency to go on a tangent
and be bold. No, that was talking about the thunder behind your remark.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all.
It's really
that's
stormy,
natural.
Man. Hopefully, we don't lose power.
And you know what? Lens Studio offers itself to an amazing view, in addition to the sound of a thunderstorm. This looks scary, but can't touch this.
Can't do it. Hopefully the power stays with us. We can talk more.
Exactly.
Are you drawn to anything besides the guitar in regard to expressing yourself musically?
I've been pushed into singing vocally more in the last 10 years than I have in my whole life. Normally people say, you got enough, you got the leads, you don't do it. But I don't have an extensive vocal range, but I don't tend to sing flat or sharp. Once I'm told what I'm supposed to sing, I can pretty much do it as long as it's in my vocal range, which is very limited. I am no Rob Halford at all.
I don't know too many people that are. To be honest
Well,
with you.
yeah, but I mean, it's just an example of a vocal range. I'm about a little bit of that 1.5 something.
I feel it.
But I'm glad that they're letting me sing. I do get to sing lead. I do get to sing backup, and I haven't been fired from doing it, so I think I'm hitting the right notes. But guitar has always been my thing, for sure.
Of those three guitars, which is your number one? Is it? But I don't want to assume.
I have a blue one that I bought because I was watching Saturday Night Live as a young man, and I saw Santana play on SNL. Carlos still had long, curly, black hair, but I'm sure he was put on top because he had a scarf on top. But he had this bright yellow guitar that was just badass. He had this incredible tone, and I've always been a huge fan of Carlos Santana. And I'm like, what the hell is he playing? And I did some research and looked into it. It was a Paul Reed Smith, and Paul Reed Smith had just started making guitars around 84, 85. And I always wanted one, and that's when I saw him do it, and I always wanted it. I ended up finally getting the money together. I can't remember how. I'm sure it was nothing good, but whatever happened. Anyway, I went to Cowdown Guitars on 161, and I bought the blue Paul Reed Smith that I predominantly use to this day, although I do have a good story about my backup, from Mark Chatfield.
You bought the blue guitar from Mark?
From Mark.
Wow.
And I talked to him, and I told him what I wanted. He showed me what he had. There was 2 guitars. The blue one was the one I wanted. I went up, and I said I wanted to have it. He was telling me what I think they wanted $1,300 for it. And I came equipped with like $1,100. I shouldn't be telling this, but like $1,100 cash. And I said, I can give you this cash right now. And he gave it to me. And not that Mark Chatfield knows me that well or anything like that, but I've always kind of admired him. And he might. It doesn't sound like he's happy with what I said.
These, man.
But I do remember playing at Valleydale a long time ago, and the Bellows had opened up for the Gods, and Mark was in the band, and we played first. And then we got to go up into the band room, which at that time was the ladies' dressing room, like way back in the day. And it was really cool because Mark Chatfield gave me a compliment, and I still remember it. Obviously, now I wouldn't be bringing it up right now if he didn't.
That's
and a
cool.
lot of people said, "You're lucky," because Mark doesn't do that a lot, from what I hear. And I don't know Mark well, and I don't mean to say anything negative about him, but he said something positive to me, and that stuck with me, or I wouldn't bring it up now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think you mentioned that you had a story with your second guitar, your number 2, electric. You want to share that one?
Yeah, it's not quite as entertaining or any big names dropped, but I had asked my father for a new PRS case for my blue one that I had bought from Mark. And my dad showed up with a new case on Christmas, but it was heavier than it should have been, and there was a new guitar in there.
Oh, man.
And it was a green one. It was a green Paul Reed Smith. It's a 2002 or 3. I can't remember for sure. I do play it. I do love it. I will never give it away, but I did have to go out and spend like $180 on a new case for the blue one anyway, because Dad. I'm like, well, Dad, but
they both need a case.
You can't complain. You can't complain about that. You really can't. So I didn't complain, but that's what happened. I asked you for a $180 case. You gave me a $2,000 guitar plus the case, and now I need to go out and buy $180 to buy a new case.
Oh man!
Well, anyway,
that's pretty funny. It never fails, though.
Yeah, my dad's a good man.
Quite a collection. Have
You
you
can
stuck?
even see. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, dude.
You can even see him on YouTube now. I just realized, but if you look up the Jack Widner Trio, you can see the album he released in 1966, and the sound quality is pretty neat, and it's all live, and it's really good, and I grew up listening to that at the lounges he played at. Stoper's University Inn at the time, and the Bistro Lounge, and I wasn't allowed in the Bistro Lounge because I was too young, but we'd go to dinner, and I'd watch my father play jazz music all night long, or at least all night long to me. I was a young man, so I was probably home by 9, but...
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
That is absolutely awesome. It's a great... memory, right? I mean,
yeah, it was great. There was a lot of great things. I remember the bartender who went on to be a sheriff, and a man named Sebastian who every time would give me a quarter or a 50-cent piece or something. That was like way back in the day. But I remember being, when I was young, 5, 4, 6, sitting at the bar talking to old man drinking Manhattans. And they'd give us Shirley Temples and no one cared, but times change, I guess.
They do change. There's nothing they can do about it. Nothing. You've been playing a long time, but have you stuck with kind of a certain tone in your head? And how has that changed for you over the years? You know, from the bellows to some of the stuff you're doing now. You know, your tone is almost, you know, something that's very personal, but has it evolved for you, and in what ways?
Yeah, absolutely. As successful as the bellows were, they probably got my worst tone of all time. I was using a solid state amp. I don't think I'm going to tell the name of them, but once I got into tube amplifiers, which I use now, which I don't mind saying, Mesa Boogie, I'm proud to use them. It's a great amp. It's got a great sound, which actually I got from Scott Wise. My other amp was stolen. I had one. I had a 212 combo. Sounded great, but I prefer the 50 caliber 12-inch combo Mesa Boogie, which I got from Scott Wise, who is the other guitarist from Toast. Wow, you know, feels like the door should be going on or something here, or something. But that's great.
Dude, we're gonna have a keyboard. We can start something to name.
Does anyone else have any of the sound effects for their interviews that I could, or is this? Yeah, sweet.
We're like right in the middle of a thunderstorm, which is kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah,
it's cool talking with you, number one. But
Wow.
for these statements you've made, and then you hear that thunderclap, it's just the timing is uncanny. So,
It
so
makes
Tone,
me think
so
of the
what do you-
Doors or Who. The Who does one. What's the other one that do? Rain on Me, of course. Yeah.
Are you?
You got
are
the soundtrack for
Are
it.
you plugging your? What's your pedal board look like? Do you use? one?
Oh, well,
I
that
know
once it,
that's evolved for you, but like, where are you now?
I always listen to anyone that has to teach, and if I feel like someone who's taught me something that knows what they're doing, then I'll do that. I can honestly say I didn't figure a whole lot out for myself. I listened to older, more experienced players and people who told me what to do. So right now I have 3 time pedals. Actually, my chorus pedal's not working right now, but I don't really care. I have a flanger pedal, a digital relay, which I use more than anything else, a wah pedal, and then I have a Leslie rotating. It's called a Rotovibe, also by Dunlop, and that's it. So really, only 4 pedals. All the distortion comes from the Mesa Boogie, which is great, and
Creamy.
it's just great. And they got 2 distortion pedals, so I mean, I can make one like really brittly and one of them really beefy, and yeah, when people pushed me into that, that was great. But some people told me put the time bladed pedals, which at that point would have been my phaser, my delay, and my chorus pedal. I run those through the effects looper in the back, and then the wah pedal, the Rotovibe, I run through the front of the amp, which means, you know, through the input of the front.
Yeah.
And I only do that not because I'm so smart, just because I asked other people who knew what was going on, and they told me that.
And learning that order of things.
You know what?
That's an education.
I don't think I'm smarter than anyone else. So if anyone has something smarter to tell me, I will take it. One of my very first lessons, which I don't know if I want to eat up this time or not now, but one of the first shows I had with the Bellows, we were playing the Gathering at the Continent, which back in the late 80s was a huge deal. It was packed, it was outdoors, it was crazy. Well, it's time for us to play, and we get up there, and I can't figure out why in the world my music isn't happening at all. I can't get any sound coming out of my hand. finally, after like a very uncomfortable, what seemed like a half an hour, but was probably only like 6 or 7 minutes, the sound guy comes out, don't know who he was, looks at my stuff. The first thing he does is check the input on my amp, plugs the 1/4-inch jack into the input of my amp. All my shit works. And he turns around and he goes, "You're a dumb fuck." And I was very young, probably 17. And that stuck with me forever. I never if I ever have a problem, I check every cable, every connection, every time. But yeah, he got me on that one. And he was right. I was young and I was stupid. And so, but that's how you learn.
That's how you learn. And I think those of us that, start playing, we do learn that same lesson. You're kind of hard on yourself, John.
Well, yeah.
We've all been there.
That was just a big one for me. I just was I was like sweating. I was so excited. There was all these people. They want to watch me play. And
yeah.
I'm too dumb to put the fucking chord in the input button. So, yeah. Humbling a little bit, to say the least.
It's all good, man. Keep experimenting. Okay. I'm sure your effects pedals and,
Yeah, I got a new space for my chorus. So, I don't think I want to replace it with another chorus. I got room for a new pedal, so I got to figure out what that's going to be. And
I might be able to help you out with that after the podcast.
Oh, that'd be great.
I've got a bunch of pedals laying around here.
Scott Wise has some great pedals, and but I can't borrow one of his because they're his, and he's in the same band. So, but Scott has some great sounding pedals. He has the keyboard simulator. He can do the intro for Pigs, and
wow,
and sounds great on Uriah Heep, Steelin'. You just strum a chord and it sounds like a Hammond B3.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
I've played with that pedal. Mine broke. So I can't, but there's...
You're probably playing it too hard. I
don't know. It blew up.
You're probably chunking that A string too hard.
Or maybe my little 1/4-inch is it's not totally plugged in. I don't know. I'll have to check. I'm going to take your lesson and apply it to myself, I guess. I don't know, man. John, I really appreciate your time today. We're really blessed to have you in Columbus, Ohio. I know you got a lot of fans, a lot of people that come out to see you because you give so much, and it's just a wonderful experience with wherever you are. There's your big smile. There's your PRS, and you're just bringing it. Every song, every solo, every experience that particular band is delivering to the venue and to the people that are there to see everybody. So it's awesome.
I'm so very flattered that you asked me to be here, and that I am noticed. Honestly, it's not about look at me, but it's very flattering to know that you're noticed.
Honestly, you're one of the shyest giants that are out there playing in Columbus. I think it's your personality when you're on stage.
It's different when I'm on stage.
It's different.
When I'm on stage, I can smile, wink at you, and and all that. But yeah, when I'm talking, I guess I'm not the same. But it's still the same guy.
Still the same guy. Be your beautiful self, man. Thank you for hanging out tonight. We had it's a blizzard of a thunderstorm going on behind you. Awesome. And I'll try to get a photo of some of this, and we'll share that on Instagram and Facebook or whatever. But I really appreciate you hanging out, man.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to be here. You've been a great host.
Well, it's fun to learn, the person behind the guy that we see, playing guitar in some of these great bands that are in town, and not just yourself, but the whole purpose of the podcast is to get to know people and share their stories and share their background and what's motivating them. And I think we got a really good sense of you sharing your journey here today, and I appreciate that.
I think you've got like an endless supply of talented musicians in Columbus, Ohio, from not only from guitar but from every instrument you can imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
We have a lot of great players in this town, so you got no shortage of interviews.
I agree with you, and it's almost overwhelming because a lot of people have approached me, and I've got 1 to 3 a week from now to the end of the year, and and I really appreciate when people say, hey, you need to talk to so and so, and here's a vocalist you need to talk to, here's a drummer, saxophone, across the board, men, women, the whole diversity of what makes up Columbus local music. And using these platforms, I'd like to really just draw attention to what's happening here, because it really, really has a lot of momentum and obviously uber talent.
Well, kudos to you. It's great. I love it.
Well, I'll show you how to listen to these stories too, man, because you have a phone and we'll get you hooked up. It'll be great.
All right. Sounds great.
Thanks, John. All right. That's a wrap. Episode 16. Have a great day. Bye-bye.